Ahoy there, my children of the watch. Holy shizaballs. Welcome to Star Wars Transmissions. I'm your boy Dan. With me, my lovely and beautiful wife, Danny Girl.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Ahoy, Miss Danny. Dude, chapter 20 frickin' 3. Holy crap. What an episode.
Super fun. And there was a lot of stuff that happened.
A ton of stuff. So, obviously, we're going to be breaking down chapter 23. So, we're going to be getting into spoilers. So, if you haven't watched chapter 23, get those booty cheeks out of here. This is your spoiler warning because we got to pour one out for our boy, Paz Vizsla.
Wow, you really jumped in. You went real quick into that spoiler warning.
Dude, I got chills in that final scene.
Jon Favreau decided he didn't have enough time on his hands to keep doing the voiceover work.
Oh, I know, right? He's like, I got enough to juggle right now. Voicing Paz is too much. We're gonna talk about Paz, but yeah, we gotta pour one out for our homie. I gotta say, what a character arc for Paz in a really, really excellent way.
I agree. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I honestly totally didn't even think about that. But yeah, to see how he's come and grown, that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah. So what was your overall opinion on this episode?
I really liked this episode. There were plenty of opportunity to gasp and clap and go, oh my God. I did that multiple times for this, whatever it was, 50 minutes or so. I really enjoyed it.
Fist pumps, chills, yelling at the TV were abound when I watched it. I was hooting and hollering watching this episode. I had a ton of fun watching this episode. I was laughing. I was cheering. I was yelling at the TV in anger. It was a whole myriad of emotions, and I guess we can kind of come to expect that with the penultimate episode of The Mandalorian. This seems to be how they go. It's kind of like, I will say, it's kind of like Game of Thrones, right? The big penultimate episode, shit gets wild.
Also, have we watched an episode this season together for the I'm going to go with no.
Have we? I don't think so.
Not for the first time. That's too bad. Because we haven't. I think we'd have fun. I know we'd have fun.
We would, yeah. Yeah, sadly, with work, we just don't get to watch them together for the first time. This would have been an episode. Yeah, I think you and when I was working on getting screenshots and you were watching it, when I could hear what was going on in the episode, I stopped what I was doing to go out at certain points. I'm like, I need to see her reaction.
Oh yeah, you like to creep. You like to creep.
Yes.
You've done this a few times when I get home and I start to watch it and you're like, oh, what's going on over there?
Oh, I wonder what's going to happen in this scene.
Yeah, okay.
With that said, that's a good segue into, let's get into it. So let's start breaking down this episode, and I want to begin by the return of my freaking homeboy Giancarlo Esposito. So happy that Giancarlo is back, being the most ruthless and dastardly villain. He is like, I know we talked about this in the past, he is the perfect villain. He is so good at portraying a villainous character.
He really is. And we knew he'd be back.
Absolutely.
I know he said he wouldn't be back, but come on.
Did he say that he wasn't going to be back?
He was obviously lying. I think at one point he did.
Ian McDermott. Oh, yeah, Palpatine's not going to be in Obi-Wan. They always do that.
Right. That's why you were at the opening, or the opening, whatever.
Yeah, the premiere.
Yeah, you knew what I meant.
But yes, I'm so glad that we got to see Giancarlo back again. And I love the opening scene is literally we return to Coruscant, and it's just beautiful and opulent, but at the same time, kind of like gritty and dirty. You see some of the fluorescent lights starting to like flicker. And to me, that's, hey, yeah, things on Coruscant are nice and bright and shiny, but if you look closely, like, not everything is how you think it is. And we jump right into Elia Kane using, which I'm assuming is her TK designation, or like stormtrooper designation, because I can't remember the exact. No, it's TK something something was her like passcode to the probe droid, and then she speaks to Moff Gideon, and she's telling him, "Hey, just like we thought, the pirates are in league with the Imperial remnant," which no shock there. And so Moff Gideon's he's gonna start formulating a game plan to take care of these pesky Mandalorians. And man, dude, the opening scene goes hard in the paint.
Oh, it so did. This is such a cool shot.
Dude, right? How sick is this? Like these stormtroopers just standing guard in, I mean, look at how many ray shields there are, right? Like think about that. You know, it totally made me think of like the Phantom Menace when you see the ray shields guarding that, like the shaft area. I don't know what the heck it was called, but yeah, I mean, and to me, it gives credence to what you and I were talking about before we started streaming about the clones in those tubes. Because why would you need quadruple ray shields before getting into the next area that he's going to get into?
I also just want to point out, they kind of look like lightsabers. Like, I don't know. I know you said they're ray shields, but like how they're sticking up and down, they just kind of look.
Yeah, I don't think you typically see the ray shields look like that. Now that you say that, I don't recall seeing them look like that. But yeah, I mean,
cool.
How great is the framing of this image? It's just so cool. And then we get the first image of these Imperial commandos, which, you know, totally harkens back to when we saw them in Rebels, but in Rebels, they were specifically Mandalorians that were working with the Empire. And I love that the theme of this episode is all about unity. We see both the Imperials and the Mandos struggling with being unified, the divisions that can separate them. And by the end of it, it seems like maybe the Mandos are more unified than the Empire will be. Although, again, what you and I were talking about before our stream, like now I'm kind of second guessing that when I initially watched this, I was like, oh, the Mandalorians they're super unified now, and they're going to be going hard after Moff Gideon. And now I'm second guessing my initial assumption, which we'll talk more about the further along we get. But yeah, so this is not the first time we're seeing Imperial commandos. And I released a video about this, how I theorized that, hey, the reason why there could have been beskar on that transport that Moff Gideon was on is that maybe Gideon was manufacturing armor, stormtrooper armor with beskar, maybe dark trooper armor with beskar, and we find out he's doing both. He's creating stormtrooper armor and dark trooper armor using beskar, which I was just like, damn. Like, I wasn't expecting to get that reveal this. Once I saw those stormtroopers in the opening scene, I'm like, oh, 100% their armor is made out of beskar.
Beskar alloy.
Beskar alloy. I did like that Moff Gideon specifically said beskar alloy.
And I feel like that will come in handy later on, maybe. I don't know. I feel like to separate between like Din's very pure beskar and a beskar alloy. I don't know. I feel like that was a big distinction to make.
Do you think it's pointing towards a certain individual that we will talk about?
I wish I could say I knew who you were referring to right now, but I'm having a hard time reading your mind.
All right, we'll get there. Don't you worry.
I'm sure we are.
And dude, we get this Shadow Council scene, which this isn't the first time in Star Wars in canon that we've heard about a Shadow Council. In the Aftermath trilogy, we learn that there's a Shadow Council still kind of, and the Aftermath trilogy takes place between 4 ABY to 5 ABY. So pretty much right after the Battle of Endor up to the Battle of Jakku. So now the Mandalorian is set about 3 to 4 years after that in 8, 9 ABY-ish. And so the Shadow Council is still operating. They're still running the Empire. And what I loved about this scene is during the entirety of The Mandalorian, we're just assuming that, hey, the Empire is completely fractured at this point. But what's revealed is that is intentional. The Empire wants the New Republic to think that they're fractured, that they're just a nuisance at this point. We don't really need to be too concerned about them because they want to think that they're weak, not amassing their power in the Outer Rim and beyond, so that they will eventually become a serious threat.
They're so nefarious.
The New Republic. Oh my god, dude! I absolutely loved this scene so much because I feel like there was so much revealed in this, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, however long this scene was. There was so much information that we got from this scene.
I say it was like every time you turned around, they were just dropping bombs. There's just knowledge bombs. Right.
Because we get our boy Pelion. Dude, as soon as I saw that goddamn gray mustache, I was like, bro, that's Pelion. And then once he said his name, I was like, yes. And another thing that you and I talked about, I don't think it's a coincidence that the timing is just perfect, right? We just get this announcement that Thrawn is going to appear in Ahsoka. He's going to be portrayed by Lars Mikkelsen. And we get Thrawn's name dropped in this episode when Pelion is saying, hey, eventually Thrawn is going to return and we're going to bring back the Imperial military to its full glory. And Moff Gideon's like, yeah, bro, well, when's that going to happen? You keep saying he's going to come back, but hasn't happened yet.
You want to tell people who Pelion is?
So Captain Pelion is like Thrawn's right-hand man. In the Thrawn Legends trilogy, that was Thrawn's ride or die homeboy. And Pelion has appeared in, was it Thrawn Treason, I think? He's in one of the...
No, sorry.
Yeah, the Canon Timothy Zahn trilogy, the first Thrawn trilogy. I want to say he appeared in Thrawn Treason. He was also in Rebels was it 1 episode or 2 episodes? And now here. But yeah, so to see him in live action is dope. So yeah, that's why he's the one talking about Thrawn, because he's Thrawn's right-hand bro.
Yeah, this is really exciting. It's like, ooh, yeah, that mustache is pretty distinctive. Excellent casting.
I love it. And I like that, because again, Moff Gideon is basically questioning Thrawn and Thrawn's ability to lead, because it seems at this point like Thrawn is the presumed leader of the Empire.
That's what it kind of sounds like, but nobody really they know of Thrawn, but it doesn't sound like anybody other than Pelion really has any interactions with him.
Well, I wonder if part of that is these Moffs, these warlords, kind of yeah, they're going to follow Thrawn, but it's very much an Imperial thing to do, to be like, I'm going to be doing things behind someone else's back. I'm going to try to stab them in the back. I'm going to try to gain power for myself. So I wonder, and you get this when Moff Gideon is like, maybe there's time for new leadership. Here. We get these schlongs chiming in like, yeah, let's get some new leadership here, because I'm sure all of them are saying, yes, let's push Thrawn aside so maybe I can be the leader here. Which again, I think plays right into the theme of this episode, and a lot of the theme, a large theme of the entire season, division and unity. And I like that we see here, because that is very much an Imperial thing that we see throughout Star Wars.
Yeah, we see there's always infighting in the Imperials. Always infighting. Which is
another Mando thing, right? So I love that we're seeing that play out. And we get this schmohawk, Commandant Brendel Hux, which I think this is the first. I don't think he's appeared in other canon stuff, but I don't think we've ever gotten an actual image of him, and I could be wrong.
I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember. I think there might have been one crummy image, or maybe a fan-made image of Brendel Hux that I found. But yeah, this is the first basically shot of what we get to see Brendel Hux look like. And I like that Pelion is defending Thrawn, and he's telling Moff Gideon, hey, what we're doing, this gives time for Brendel Hux to deliver on his Project Necromancer, which my ears completely shot up the moment I heard Project Necromancer. I feel like that's very much a nerd thing to do.
Dan, do you want to share with us what your thoughts are on that?
Yes. So, I think most people, it could be one of a few things.
Okay.
Right? Necromancer is a term used for like basically a wizard or a sorcerer, and probably be a better term, that will raise someone from the dead, reanimate someone from the dead, right? So Project Necromancer could be, hey, we're working to revive the Empire. It could be we're working to revive the Emperor. My only thought because I've been seeing a lot of people saying this project is for the Emperor. Well, the Emperor is already alive at this point. He's on Exegol in a cruddy body, just rotting away and trying to figure out how he could find another vessel to put his essence into.
Mm-hmm.
Brendel Hux hit in the First Order. So I believe they talk about this in the final Aftermath. Yes, they do. That's right. Yeah. So in the final Aftermath book, Brendel Hux is speaking to Gallius Rax, who was the presumed heir to the Empire after Darth Sidious was killed, quote unquote. And so once Gallius Rax is explaining to Hux the Emperor's contingency plan, that, hey, only the Imperials that deserve it and are worthy of it, we're going to travel into the unknown regions. Brendel Hux kind of shows Rax that he's worthy of going into the unknown regions, and he helps basically establish the program for the First Order that is going to pretty much like kidnap children and brainwash them into becoming stormtroopers for the First Order.
You're so messed up.
So my thought is that Project Necromancer is Brendel Hux's work in stealing children to create stormtroopers for the First Order. It could very well be, though, a project to create Snoke, a project for Darth Sidious. You and I were quickly watching Star Wars Explains live stream, and he was talking about, or someone asked him if it's about Snoke. The only thing with that is we know that Sidious was the person that made Snoke. Mm-hmm. So my thought is that it's specifically about Brendel Hux's creation of stormtroopers, but I think it could be one of those.
He sounds like such a dirtbag.
He is. Which, dude, I know you love this book, but the Phasma novel is incredible, and we get to spend time with Brendel Hux and learn more about him, and learn more about Armitage Hux, his son, as well, mm-hmm. which is so dope. So yeah, of course, when I heard Project Necromancer, Commandant Hux, my ears completely shut up. I was like, oh, hell yes, this is so sick. And yeah, and we get, so Moff Gideon, on top of basically throwing shade at Thrawn, he's saying, hey, we've got this Mandalorian problem. I think they're going to be coming for me. We need to do something about this. And it didn't dawn on me exactly why he felt that they were going to be coming from, but it makes sense now in retrospect because of where his freaking base is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh God.
Which
Gideon.
Yeah. So I loved this scene, and dude, I love the reveal that he's been the one on Mandalore. Like I thought it was Thrawn when it was first mentioned back in season 2 by Boba Fett, I believe, says that Mandalore has been reduced to ash. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, myself included, was like, oh, that's complete malarkey. It's Thrawn on Mandalore, and that rumor is being spread to keep people away from Mandalore, but it's not Thrawn, it's Moff Gideon. But that reveal was still pretty dope.
It was still exciting. And I mean, we did know that there was somebody there, considering they were able to bomb Bo-Katan's castle, or palace, or whatever you want to call it.
Her shindig, her pad. Maybe shindig, maybe not the right word, but
her pad.
Her bachelorette pad.
Yes, exactly. Her and her lone droid. But like, clearly we knew somebody was nearby. So that makes sense then that we have this huge, they have all these TIE fighters and are able to then hop, skip, and a jump away.
So I'm going to give you credit here because I didn't put the pieces together when I first watched this. Because I was so enamored by how sick Moff Gideon's armor looked. And then literally in my head, I was like, bro, if I made Mandalorian cosplay, that's exactly how I want my cosplay to look. So that's what my mind was focused on when I saw him. But you pointed out those nice little pointy things at the top, spikes at the top of his helmet.
Oh, that look like horns?
Huh. Who else do we know? So before I do that, let me just say that this new armor is specifically Moff Gideon's newest iteration of the Dark Trooper, which I love his hubris, dude, that his new iteration of the Dark Trooper is his upgrade is him. When he's telling them about the Dark Troopers, he's talking about how he is going to take the aggregate, basically the best components of the Jedi, the Kaminoan cloners, and himself to create an army.
He really does have a big ego.
He is but again, that's very much a dark side Sith Imperial characteristic. That is, I think back to Return of the Jedi, Luke telling Darth Sidious, your overconfidence is your weakness. That's very much, right, a trait of a Darksider. So yeah, I love that he's saying that, like, yeah, I made this Dark Trooper and I'm the reason why it's going to work because I'm the best. So yeah, I thought that was great. Dragon, welcome to the chat, my friend. Danny Girl and I were talking about that before our stream. Do we think Moff Gideon is going to die next episode? I am torn because this could open the door for Thrawn. I think Thrawn might appear next week. And clearly Gideon's got it out for Thrawn. And with Ahsoka coming, that would make sense if Thrawn's going to be the person in charge of the Empire. Moff Gideon is going to be an obstacle at this point from what it seems like. So I think there's a chance he could wind up dying, but we'll see. Now, so going back to what I said before, I got to give you credit because you pointed this out, totally missed it. Who else do we know that has frickin' spikes? The armorer, dude.
Also, do you see any other Mandos that have spikes on their helmets?
The only other Mandos that had spikes, another Mando that could not be trusted, Gar Saxon and all those Maul DeLoreans, all those the Mandalorians that followed Maul during the Siege of Mandalore, which again, those were Mandalorians that could not be trusted.
They definitely had way bigger
yes,
horns on their helmet. Wow.
Yes, obviously, right. But yeah, since she first appeared back in season 1, people were tying her to Maul and the Mandalorians from the Siege of Mandalore.
Right.
And now I don't think it's a coincidence that the Dark Trooper armor that Gideon is wearing also has spikes, which I will say, as there's a part of me that's like, I don't want it to be the armor because she is kind of badass, but at the same time, she kind of sucks in that she is like super, at least prior to the season, like hardline zealot.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I say that, I'm wondering, well, the stuff that we've seen her do this season, has it all been a ploy? Her telling Bo-Katan to go and get these other Mandalorians, has it been because, and I mentioned this to you before as well, could this be, hey, these Mandalorians, this is the past. This is how Mandalore got to this point. I want to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it seem like we're all unified, and then I'm going to set them up in a trap and let the Empire do away with them.
I'm telling you, she dipped out. She knew when her time to leave was. And she got on that ship and she made it back. I mean, maybe she's going to bring a whole nother, like, oh, everything was safe. I'm curious to see what happens next season or next episode. Tell them, okay, everything is good. Let's go back down, and then lead them into another trap. Like, round 2, baby.
Oh, man. And it's like, there's a part of me, it's like, I don't want that to happen because she is a badass. She looks awesome. A lot of people like her. But at the same time, if you really think about her character, if you take aside how cool her outfit looks, how much of a badass fighter she is, and you just think about her personality and her characteristics, she kind of sucks. And so it kind of makes sense with how much we've seen her be, as zealous as we've seen her be with her beliefs and how she thinks Mandalorians should be. I kind of almost makes sense that she would say, well, these people are clearly not how I want Mandalore to be. The traditions I want Mandalore to follow, we need to get rid of them. I don't want them to even potentially be a part of the equation to infect the mind of other Mandalorians. Let's just do away with them. So Mandalorians only know this one way of living.
So what would you say for the people from her crew? Or do you think like because it was a mixed crew between people who walk the way and people who don't? Do you think it was just like she's like, okay, I'm willing to get rid of these people, and then maybe when she goes back, she'll leave her people on?
I think so. And is that really
ship.
off-brand? I mean, dude, look how quickly she was willing to cast Din aside because he removed his helmet. And there was only 3 of them, as far as she knew. I mean, I'm sure they had an idea that there were other Mandalorians a part of their covert, but at that point in the Book of Boba Fett, we only see 3 of them. And she's willing to say 1/3 of that group, peace out, bro.
Because you took off your helmet.
So is it really that off-brand for her to be like, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of Mandalorians that don't follow the way of life that I think we need to subscribe to?
Yeah. And then she can be her own leader.
Dude, the more we talk
and she can get some get a great forge if maybe that's what Gideon promised her.
Right? I mean, and we talked about this. What would be the selling point for her with Gideon? What would she get out of this equation? Beskar alloy. You can get a bunch of Beskar alloy, bro. You can get a nice, beautiful forge. We can maybe give you some tract of land on Mandalore for you and your Mandalorians to live on. Yeah, the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, bro.
Ready to be heartbroken.
I think it's her. I was like,
I know
when we talked about it, I didn't want to believe it, but the more we talk about it, the more I think it's her. Because when I initially watched it, I'm like, oh, it's those 3 Schmohawks that they just randomly found. Yeah, on also, the like.
How would Gideon know? How would Gideon know that Bo-Katan has the Darksaber instead of Din now?
Oh my God, I never even thought about that, dude.
Somebody that's a Mando told him. Who's off by herself all the time?
Oh no, but here's the only thing. Because you hear Moff Gideon say thank you to someone once the trap has been revealed. And so was it someone that was there? I don't know. It seems unlikely because my initial thought it was those 3 Mandos that they find. Then I thought, oh, it's Axe Woves. That's who the spy is. He dips out early. He is all about, he's a privateer at this point. Mm-hmm. He really seems to only be about himself and his cohort. But yeah, oh man, it's not looking good for the armor. That is for sure. All signs are pointing to her, and it is not looking good. All right, so let me catch up with the chat really quickly. Do you think Bo dies?
Don't.
Next episode, bro.
I swear to God, do not break my heart like that.
Don't. And
I hope not.
I really hope not. We've talked about this ad nauseum at this point. To me, the story for the Mandalorians is more intriguing to me when it's Mandalorians coming together and being and unifying together.
Okay, are you done with that thought?
Go ahead.
Is Din going to do something to save Bo?
Oh no, dude!
Who made that comment about Bo dying? I can't see the chat from here. I'm very upset.
Oh.
But no, we just had the scene of her, God damn it, of her reflecting, and Din's like, I got you,
oh,
boo,
no.
to the end of time. Of I know.
Oh, we saw it with freaking with Tech. Oh no, dude. Oh my, I hope not. And I was thinking about this. Hold on. I was thinking about this after I watched the episode. There was all those rumors like 2 years ago about how after season 3 for season 4, there was rumors coming out that Lucasfilm was contemplating changing the name of The Mandalorian to something different because the story was going to go in a different direction. Dude.
Okay. So
if that's the case, it kind of gives credence to, hey, maybe the Mandalorian is Grogu after all, like you and I have been saying.
Maybe the Mandalorian is Bo-Katan. So instead of Bo-Katan dying, Din is going to lay down his life for Bo-Katan. And then we've seen Bo and Grogu join forces so many times this season, and their bond has been getting better. So it's a torch that's passing from the Mandalorian Din Grogu to the Mandalorian Bo and Grogu.
Oh my God.
And let's be real, Pedro Pascal is very popular right now. I have heard rumors that he has it, like, it's not like he's doing the actual acting. He's just doing the voiceovers. And he had The Last of Us, which we know is going to go into season 2. I'm just...
Cheesy, crazy.
I don't like it. But
wow. So, Jesus Christ, now I think someone's going to die. I think Paz is in the last Mando to get murked.
I don't think so either.
Whew. My thought after watching the episode, you guys are a bunch of buzzkills over here. My thought was, Grogu's going to save Din. We'll all be good next week. Now you guys are crushing my soul.
What do we got going on over there?
So, Dragon, him saving her and dying. Oh, Shiza. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the same page.
Please, for the love of God, acknowledge my achievement of... So, Lewis, what did you predict? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Let me know in the chat what you predicted. Dragon, there's been information about the Mandalorian not just being about Din anymore. It's just not one Mandalorian. Yeah, I definitely... I've been seeing people kind of being upset that Din has to be the Mandalorian, which to me, it's like, bro, you're missing the point of the show.
I mean, I don't think that was ever said. Like, it's the Mandalorian is specifically Din Djarin. Like, the Mandalorian can refer to anybody that's a Mandalorian. And we don't know what it was supposed to be.
I like the idea that, hey, maybe it's Din, Bo, and Grogu that are working to reunite Mandalore. Maybe it's Grogu. Maybe it's Bo-Katan. I don't think that it's just Din any longer. It's very clearly not just Din. And, oh my God, you guys are crushing my soul now thinking that Din might die next week. Oh,
we're both going to be a puddle of tears if that is the case.
So Lewis says Grogu IG-11 suit, dude. That scene was incredible.
Oh God, wasn't that back like? What was the name? You said that was the person who said they predicted. I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Lewis.
Oh,
do you recall that? You've got a better memory than I do with certain things.
I want to. It was like back in the beginning, one of the first
He
episodes.
did say in your live stream weeks ago. Yo, shout out to you, Lewis, for calling it.
I don't remember what episode, but I do remember talking about this. Are you saying that? Yeah, that's fun.
Big ups to Lewis for that, for predicting that. Hell yeah, man. So yeah, that scene was great. So all right, let's move and groove here a little bit. The scenes with Moff Gideon were incredible. Giancarlo Esposito, like I feel, I'm sure he doesn't give a crap about being typecasted. The dude's probably making a ton of money being
the villain,
offered jobs to portray villains. But yeah, he is like the perfect freaking villain. So, dude, we talked about, I think our homeboy is making clones of himself for that Dark Trooper armor. I think he's literally creating a clone army. Tell me that I know it's tough to see, but tell me that silhouette does not look like it could be Moff Gideon.
I mean, that's a good screenshot that you got. And I think I would say my proof or my thought process is look at his hubris, look at his ego. Like he said that he's the perfect specimen or whatever his exact words were, the perfect whatever.
Yeah. Which to me, again, goes back to just symbolizing that the downfall of the Empire is going to be them, the infighting, the strife, them being out for themselves, each of these warlords and these Moffs, because Moff Gideon tells Commandant Hux that Pershing's basically the experiment, because Hux calls him out on his experimentation that he was doing on Nevarro, and he tells him, hey, Pershing's out of the equation. We're not doing any of that cloning work anymore. Well, clearly that's BS. He's got cloning tubes right there. And so my thought is he is creating clones of himself for that Dark Trooper armor. I'm
going to say he's making his own army.
Yes. An army of himself is my thought. So sticking with the theme of unity and division, right? We clearly see that portrayed in this one image when Bo-Katan, Din, and Grogu, I think Paz was with them. No, Paz was not with them. When they return with the Night Owls to Nevarro, and we see Kafka Reeves, Axe Woves and Bo-Katan taking off their helmets, and Paz was very much not about that. But then the armorer steps in with her
little
forging
hammers.
tools, clanging them away like, nah, bros, we're going to have a feast, we're going to come together. But clearly, these two tribes are struggling to find common ground amongst each other, even though they're Mandalorians. That strife that is so ever present in their culture is what keeps them from being able to take the next step forward. And I love how this shot is framed, just the chasm between both of these groups of Mandalorians. I think that's such an awesome shot. And even just something as simple as playing freaking Mando chess.
Oh my God.
These two individuals from different cultures, and they have different rules for how they play this game, and they can't come to terms on how it's correctly played. So how are we going to handle this?
I'm
going to bust out my vibro knife, bro, and I'm going to stab your ass.
Mandos are so ridiculous. I know. And the Axe Woves goes into the name calling too. Like, I feel like it almost could have glossed over until he called him primitive.
Oh, that's right. I was like, what did he say to him? But at first he's like, really, bro? You're going to do this? But you're right. He does. Like, that is a shitty thing to say to someone.
And like I said, I think they both, like, I think Paz was willing to kind of like ignore it until he says that.
Yeah.
Until Axe says that. And he's like, okay, we're on.
Which, again, I love that you're seeing, and you think about that with how we see the Imperials discussing Thrawn and Thrawn's whereabouts, and them all saying, like, yeah, let's find new leadership. Let's move away from Thrawn. I love that you're seeing that play out between these two groups in the episode. But it's little Grogu in his mech suit.
My God, love it.
The youngling that says, "Hey, bros, we don't have to behave like this. There is an alternate way to be able to handle situations." And I love too that you think about, and this is why I love the idea of Grogu being the Mandalorian, because he's been trained by Luke, he's been trained by Din, he's now being trained by Bo-Katan, right? And all the knowledge and experience that he's accumulating at this point, and how he can bring a fresh perspective on what it means to be a Mandalorian. And I love that we're seeing it's him that stops the fight, because I think Din asked Bo-Katan, like, hey, should we let them fight? And Bo says, like, yeah, it'll happen sooner or later. Let him work it out.
Yeah.
And Grogu's like, nah, bro, this does not have to be how we handle things.
I also kept thinking, like, oh, poor Grogu, like, he's seeing these two people fight, and they're people that he knows they're on this mission together. And, like, just picturing him thinking of Order 66 and the trauma that he had from seeing the Jedi get shot, and like, oh, he doesn't want to deal with violence. Like when they were fighting on the beach or doing their like practice munitions and things, and Grogu just wanted to sit to the side. I
hadn't even thought about that. That's an excellent point.
Just wanted to play with his little crabs, little fun guys, and he didn't want to have anything to do with it until Din made him do it. So he was like, okay, now he has this mech suit. He's a big person now. Or at least pretend a big person, and he can step in where he thinks he needs to.
That is an excellent. What's the word? I'm drawing a blank on the word.
Point?
Observation?
Yes,
observation. Thank you.
You.
That's an excellent observation. We did talk about that during the Order 66 scene, how Grogu was clearly traumatized from that experience, and rightfully so. And yeah, so I loved that it was Grogu is the person that stops them, which is an excellent segue into one of my favorite moments in this damn episode. I told you this before. I want a cartoon. I don't even care if it's specifically for younglings. If it's just a cartoon of the Anzellans and Grogu going around the galaxy, fixing up droids, I'll watch every freaking second of it. Like, the scenes we've gotten with the Anzellans are amazing. I absolutely love those little guys so much.
Can we also talk about how this Anzellan was obviously traumatized by Grogu as well?
Yes. Grogu is out here traumatizing people. So I was like, no squeezy.
Yeah, bad baby.
So great. And I love too, just like the noises that the Anzellans make.
I also think Grogu was making lots of noises during this scene too.
Yes.
He was
pumped.
Oh yeah, he was excited to see his friends again.
I mentioned this to you. I love how Greef is. Oh, let me go back here for a second. I love how Greef is just like the fun uncle. But Din wants no part. What does Din say? That Grogu's too small or too young to operate heavy machinery. Yeah. And I love that Greef's like, bro, come on, let's give him give it a try. When I was watching this scene, I was like, oh, this is like me with our niece. Our niece is what? How many months old now? I'm like, oh, we got to get her Nerf
almost
guns.
10. Yeah, she's almost 10 months old.
She's not a year old, and I want to get her Nerf guns. That's going to be me as an uncle. I'm like, yeah, let's let our little niece operate heavy machinery.
I was going to say, I just feel like this, like you said, the fun uncle who's buying like the obnoxious toys. Like I remember when I was really little, we got my aunt and uncle got me this set of like Sesame Street phones.
Was it Cindy and David?
It was not.
Oh, okay.
It was, surprisingly enough, Bob and Mary.
Oh, all right.
But they were on like a telephone cord, so you could be in two different rooms and you could call each other. So I just remember like driving my parents insane.
So kind of like Grogu with the yes and no button.
Absolutely. Just like, okay, getting an obnoxious gift to drive the parents nuts, but the kid loves it. And
then, oh my God, the scene where he goes to the vendor and he's just destroying whatever those snacks are. And Din's got to pay the poor vendor for all the yum-yums that Grogu's eating. So good.
I know. Poor just like the distraught father. Just
yeah.
Guess I'll take care of him. My gosh.
Grogu in a mech suit, man. Just so good.
Also, just following Din around, hitting the yes button.
Oh
just
my God, that was so good.
Yes.
I was literally cracking up watching that scene. It was so good. So now we get to Mandalore. And dude, I love the shot of the Mandalorian fleet. Like, that's an impressive fleet.
Absolutely.
They've got the light cruiser. They got several Gozantis. They've got gauntlets. Like, that's an impressive fleet that they got. We get the scene when the fleet is arriving in Nevarro, and it looks foreboding. I really was impressed with how their fleet looked and just how badass these Mandos are with the fleet that they've got. And as we mentioned earlier, we see these Mandos that have been living on Mandalore, surviving since the Great Purge, and they were loyal to Bo-Katan. And initially I was like, oh, these are the spies right here. That was my first thought, was that these three are the spies.
Then I was like, man, these guys don't look like they've...
That's the easy, right? That's the red herring.
And I thought the same thing too, but I just, like, seeing how they look, seeing how they treated them, I don't think so. Also, are you going to fake a bunch of medical, like in a medical emergency?
Yeah, that's true, right? And I think, I haven't looked this up, but you know how I am with faces. I'm pretty sure the guy on the right is Skinny Pete from Breaking Bad, which I think would be great because Giancarlo Esposito was also in Breaking Bad.
I don't know, I can't see it.
Were there any scenes of Giancarlo Esposito with Skinny Pete? I don't know the actor's name. I just couldn't refer to him as Skinny Pete. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the actor on the right that is portraying that Mando is the same actor that portrayed Skinny Pete in Breaking Bad. And we get this excellent scene. I loved this moment. This moment is probably like 10 minutes scene that we get on the boat here. This like skiff, Mando skiff, whatever it is, where Bo-Katan is saying, hey, listen, after the night of 1,000 tears, it was very clear that we could not beat the Empire, so I went to surrender to Moff Gideon because one of the Mandalorians is saying that, hey, the Empire bombed and destroyed Mandalore in the Great Purge as an example of what, if any other planets step out of line like these Mandos, this is what we'll do to you. And Bo-Katan says, no, not actually. What happened was I went and I surrendered. Moff Gideon took the Darksaber and then still decided to destroy Mandalore, which, how awful is that?
I know. And I feel like that just adds to the layer of like the guilt that Bo has been carrying around, like trying to do the best thing for her people, even though that's not the Mandalorian way. And it's still just backfired. And she still gets blamed for everything.
And gonna shout out to Dragnir. Bo made me cry. She gave up the Darksaber to save her people. And then he turned on her. What if he does the same thing to the armor and turns on her because of his ego? I could totally see that.
1000%.
That's definitely something. Have we seen that in other Star Wars stuff before? I feel like we have. But I mean, that's definitely, I don't know if trope would be the right, but yeah, that's definitely like something you've seen in other stories, other shows and movies where, hey, I'm going to help this villain out thinking I'm going to get something out of it. But at the end of the day, they're going to put a hole in me. They're going to blast me. So I could totally see that. But yeah, I love this moment of Bo-Katan explaining what happened and just how sad the Mandalorian people are such just like a tragic story in the Star Wars galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like whatever they do, they always seem to get the Shiza end of the stick.
You can't catch a break.
And then I absolutely loved this scene. We get this excellent scene between Din and Bo. And I had mentioned this to you last week. One of my gripes about last week's episode was I felt like it was Din's character kind of took a couple steps back. We saw him grow with his hesitation to want to trust droids. We had seen that change in him throughout the series. And then last week, I kind of felt like we went back on that. Well, this week, I love that in the past, think back to when Din first meets Bo, he's telling her that she's not a Mandalorian because she removed her helmet. And now he's telling her, I don't care about the Darksaber. That literally means nothing to me. Your station means nothing to me. What matters is your honor, your loyalty, and your character. And that's the stuff that makes me want to follow you. And I was just like, that is so dope, dude.
I also really love that he called her Lady Kryze. Like he gave her that honorary title, that they've used as an honorary title in this series.
It kind of reminded me of like scenes that we've gotten in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really liked it. I really appreciated it. And Jesus Christ, now that we're talking about it even more, I'm like, dude, this could be the kiss of death for Din.
And I hate it.
I wish you hadn't have told me that. Because now I'm worried you're right.
It's not my fault. I didn't get... Well, yes, it is my fault because I said it. But whoever said it in the chat that said Bo would die, I'm blaming you. But that was a good chat about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, now get those wheels a turning.
I'm worried. This is very much a kiss of death in Star Wars. And so, as I mentioned multiple times, right, seeing the division within these Mandalorians, I love how once things start to hit the fan, they quickly come together. We see that with that dinosaur that shoots out of the ground. They very quickly come together to help each other out and take care of these fallen Mandalorians or these hurt Mandalorians, right? Even if it was the armorer, who we are saying might be sus right now.
Mm-hmm.
We see how quickly they can work together when things get difficult. And of course, I had to take a screenshot of my boy Paz here.
For how much the Mandalorians don't want to work together and have their disagreements or whatever, it really was refreshing to see them all work together to like help one another out. Like that was cool.
Absolutely, because you see Axe Wolf's like, and this is one of the reasons why I thought he could be the spy was, hey, we need reinforcements. I'll get out of here and I'll go get them. But I love that Paz is like, Bo tells Axe, hey, it's too dangerous. You won't make it. Paz says, I'll lay down some covering fire so you can get out. And think about just a few scenes ago, these two are fighting. Paz has a knife to Axe's throat. And now he's willing to put his life on the line to give this guy a window of opportunity to go and get reinforcements for them. So I really like that we're seeing, again, that theme of unity playing out with the Mandalorians.
Yeah, now you're making me all sad about Paz.
Bro,
again.
I know, dude. And then we already talked about this. The reveal that that Moff Gideon's base is on Mandalore. Like, once you see the slow panning of the camera showing us the different areas of the base, you're just like, oh my god! And you could clearly see it as they're getting further in the base. You're seeing less and less rock formations and more like, oh my god, it's clearly an Imperial base. You SOB Moff Gideon.
I know, and I was like, it's a trap. Stop going into the rock.
I'll give you credit. Did you read anything? Because I heard you saying that as I was working on stuff and you were watching. I heard you say multiple times throughout the episode before you kept saying, I don't trust this. I don't. And then I heard you say, it's a trap. Don't go. It's a trap. I was like, that bitch, she knows her stuff.
I didn't look at anything because I was like, shit, I need nothing.
Never once dawned on me it was a trap.
Bro.
I never thought it would be a trap. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad that you gave me credit. Thank you.
Yeah, I give you a lot of credit there. Oh, and then, geez, to see our boy Din go down like this is going to be tough if he doesn't make it, man. Part of me, though, is hoping that just like we saw Din have to save Grogu, this season it's going to be Grogu that has to save Din. I would like that. That
would be awesome. That would be, God, how traumatizing would it be if Grogu tries to save Din and it doesn't happen? And that's how, like, Din dies. I hope they don't do us dirty like that.
Kind of like in The Last of Us. Well, he doesn't die in The Last of Us, but...
I'm not ready.
Oof. And dude, like, again, as we mentioned earlier, what a character arc for Paz Vizsla. How many times did he come out Din and try to fight Din throughout this series? And then this season, we saw him stand up for Din and back Din. We see him multiple times lay down his life. But then I was thinking about this after I watched the episode for the first time. Like, bro, Paz has kind of been an honorable person since the get-go. Think back to episode 3. He came and saved Din's life, even though those two were at odds with each other earlier. I think it was in that same episode when those two fought, or it might have been in episode 2 because of Din's armor. And Din basically says something to the Paz along the lines like, hey, you came from, like, yeah, this is the way, bro. We take care of each other. Paz has kind of always been an honorable dude. So this is a right way for him to go out. Yeah. But yeah, when I don't know, as I was watching it, I was like, I was still hopeful that he was going to make it out. Once he closed the door, I'm like, all right, he's done, which sucked. But I love his freaking gun is like overheating to the point where it looks like it's going to melt. He's taking blaster bolt after blaster bolt. He chucks his freaking blaster at the one stormtrooper. He's throwing them off the ledge.
He was definitely like down to the end.
And then, dude, I literally was like, at this moment because, yeah, we heard Moff Gideon say, I need reinforcements. And Hux tells him, I'll send you Praetorian guards. I didn't think for a second we were actually going to see Praetorian guards this episode. Jesus Christ.
I guess we did, though. They looked super sick.
All I kept thinking about is how sick this was.
They really did Paz dirty. Like, they really fucked him up.
But I love that, like, even as he's staring death in the face, he gets his shield going. He gets his vibroblade. It's like, bro, what do you want to do? Thought this was America. What do you want to do?
Yeah, he was definitely ready to rumble to try to take as many people out as he could till the end.
And dude, in fairness to Paz, like, he put up a fight against the Praetorian Guards are supposed to be elite fighters, right? Elite warriors. He kind of at least put up some semblance of a fight against these 3. And man, dude, I love, like, dude, look how sick their armor looks.
It does look really cool in the lighting. And I don't even know what you would call their weapons are.
They all have names, and I'm trying to remember. I know a lot of people feel certain ways about the sequel trilogy. I've mentioned this in my stream. There are things about the sequel trilogy that I love. There are things about the sequel trilogy I don't like. But one of the things that I think we're absolutely seeing with these shows is kind of like what the Clone Wars did with the prequels. I think that this series and some of these series that we're going to continue to get from this time period and the eventual movie will help explain certain things with the sequel trilogy. It's going to help hopefully make people feel a little bit better about them, because to me, I was like, regardless of whether or not you're a sequel trilogy fan, how the hell could you not like these badasses popping out in this moment?
Absolutely.
Like, it was so sick.
I mean, we've talked about this with the Clone Wars and just how the Clone Wars adds so much to that prequel series. And I mean, I don't think we've done this like at a stream, but just like in general, we've been watching Star Wars stuff. Like, it gives so much more depth and meaning to some of the storylines and things that happen and experiences with those characters. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some of that with some of the characters from the sequel series. Because yeah, these guys are badass.
I mean, they look so sick. So yeah.
That's the last one, huh?
That's the last one. What an episode.
I'm going to go watch it again. I think I'm going to watch it again.
I do want to watch it again as well. I am just, I know there's been a lot of criticisms about this season. A lot of people have felt like unsure about where the story has been going. Last episode wasn't my favorite Mandalorian episode, but man, like, this is literally like slam dunk episode. There was nothing in this episode I was like, man, I didn't like this, or I didn't like this. Like, I enjoyed pretty much every moment of watching this episode.
I know we kind of said this last week, but I think last week's episode, even though we had seen Din and Bo working together, I will say I think that definitely strengthened what Din said to Bo in this episode. Like, seeing that he's willing to, I don't know, lay down his life or be dedicated to her and her leadership.
Yes, I will. And, you know, we talked about this last week. There's a lot I really liked about last week's episode. So Turdragon says this in the chat. To be honest, I love this season. I love this season as well. Last episode might not have been my favorite, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, overall, this season I think has been really fun. I just think it's different, and that's why people are scared of different.
I've been seeing the same criticism for this episode. Like, I was talking to someone at work about this. They were saying, I just don't know where this season is going. And to me, I think if you frame the season with the idea of, hey, I think the overarching theme of this season is unity, division and unity. We see that multiple times in multiple episodes. I'm thinking about the episode with the Raptors when they save Paz's son. Bo working together with Din and these Mandalorians coming together to do something that previously the Mandalorians living on that planet could not do. But now Bo, who comes from a different walk of life, who has a different tradition than these Mandalorians are accustomed to, she comes to work together with these Mandos, and they're able to achieve something that previously couldn't be accomplished. So I think that's been the overarching theme of the season, is unity amongst Mandalorians, division. And I think if you look at the season in that way, I think the season is very strong. Going back to last episode, my gripe was, hey, we've seen so much of Din and Bo-Katan working together well. Do we need another episode of that? But my opinion could change now that, well, we're not done with the season yet. My opinion on that episode could change after future views of this season. But overall, I have really enjoyed this season, and I think I don't know if others will agree. I think this has so far been my favorite season of The Mandalorian.
I'm just laughing because somebody that you used to work with told me that the other day that I know
really?
work with. Yeah.
Big ups to her. I know exactly what you're talking about. Hell yeah. I really love this season. I think this season has been really fun. It's been really, I might be biased because I do really like Bo-Katan, and I think she's gotten to shine this season, and I really have enjoyed seeing her and Din working together. And now you mentioned this, was it off stream or during stream? Was Grogu flying? Or was she just kind of like, was he just in her lap?
I'll have to go back and look, but I thought he was on her lap, like when they were flying.
But like, how great is that to see her, like her and Grogu's? I'm a big Bo-Katan Kryze fan, so she's gotten to shine this season. So yeah, it's no surprise that I'm going to love that.
Just also thinking back to when when Paz's son got taken by the raptor. I was like, which animal was it? When she was just like telling Grogu, like, oh, your dad is just proud of you. Like, he just wants you to do well. Oh, it's so cute.
She's a great auntie.
An auntie. Do you think maybe next week the Mandos will learn the lesson from this episode and maybe come together to do something?
Oh man, I really hope so.
Defeat Moff Gideon or do something together as a unified force.
I've said this so many times. To me, we've seen so many instances of the infighting in Mandalorians that I want to see these Mandos come together. The Mandalorians are just so sick. Like, I was thinking about this when I was watching it, like, I think it was during the scene when they're fighting the Imperial commandos, just how dope Mandalorians are. Just their armor is so awesome looking. They are superior fighters. Just there's so much to like about Mandalorians. And most of what we've gotten with them so far in canon is just them fighting amongst themselves, civil war after civil war. I love Mandalorians, and I want to see them. I want to see the cream rise to the top, basically, is what I'm saying.
You want to see them live their best life.
I want to see the Mandos live their best life. And I want to see Mandalorians coming together, overcoming the Empire, reforging their home on Mandalore. That to me is so much more compelling than just another civil war with Mandalorian. So to your question, I want to see next week these Mandalorians say, hey, one of ours has been captured. We need to come together. I think what's going to be the impetus to that unity, a spy. Whomever that spy is, whether it's the armor, whether it's Aq Woves, whether it's those three guys, or maybe it's Aq and the armor, whomever it was, I think that spy is going to be the impetus that's going to really pull these Mandalorians together. But at the same time, I could see that being a wedge that's shoved in between them.
I just want to say one thing. I know you said you thought it was Aq Woves. I don't think it is. And the reason why I'm going to say I don't think it is, because what information was he feeding when he was on Plazar 15 or whatever the heck that
You're
planet
right.
name? Like, he was just living his best life, being content as a privateer.
You're right. I think it's me not
wanting to accept the facts.
Not wanting to accept the facts.
Because I'm just thinking, because I really think he meant, I feel like that would be great for his character too, because he's been such an asshole that him and Paz are working together. Like,
you're right.
I got it. I'm gonna go get reinforcements. Like, that's the piece that I'm gonna do. And he freaking jetted off there. Like,
and I think you're right. All the signs point to the armor. It's not looking good for the armor. Which, in one hand, I'm saying like, hey, maybe this is going to be what unifies. It could very easily be like Aq Woves saying, look, these primitive bastards, they're the ones that sold us out. And that could drive a wedge in between them. I hope it's not the armorer, because I think it's more likely that the armorer, being the spy, would be the powder keg to make these Mandos want to fight against each other.
Maybe it's they fight against her and capture her, and maybe they work together I don't know. We'll have to wait until next week, I guess.
Do you think Thrawn's going to appear next week?
I hope it's like one of those, like, we're going to see him at the very end of the episode.
Yes,
like
the final shot.
Yeah.
And it's just like a very quick, like, swipe to black.
Just a very quick, brief glimpse. I'd be cool with that. I don't want to see, like, I don't want to hear him talk in the episode. I don't give any. I just want to see him.
All right. Here's another question for you.
Okay.
You and I are both fans of the Thrawn novel. I love me some Eli Vanto. Do you think we will see Eli Vanto at all?
If we see him, I don't think it's going to be until Ahsoka, because I don't think he's not going to have anywhere near the effect. I think if we want to have a big gasp moment, a big cliffhanger.
You're telling me if Thrawn appears with Eli Vanto right at his side, I would be like, oh my, I would lose my mind.
You would. But how many people is that going to be?
That's true.
Because, like, you could be like, I mean, I can't remember. Brown-haired dude. Oh, like Eli Vanto. Yeah, that's so cool. Okay. Like, I'm not going to know him from a lineup or, like, know. Like,
well, you know me.
I know, but how are most people going to know?
Most people are not a schmohawk like me. So, yes.
They're not.
I agree.
So, exactly. So, it needs to be, like, Thrawn or bust. Would be my guess.
Okay, so maybe I shouldn't, like.
I think he might be. He'll come in. I think he'll be in Ahsoka.
I would love to see Eli Vanto in Ahsoka. But, all right, so you think there's a chance we're going to see Thrawn next week? I think so.
I hope so. I mean, Ahsoka's in August. That would be wet your palate right before you get a break from some Star Wars things.
Like, dude, I was thinking today, it's going to be 3 months. Which, how amazing is it that even without Visions, I'm like, we got to wait 3 months till the next Star Wars thing. Like, dude, we used to have to wait years in between Star Wars stuff. Like, now we only have to wait 3 months in between shows. And dude, next month, my birthday, getting freaking Visions.
I know. That's exciting.
Oh. Mamma mia.
You're all spent. Oh my God.
Any final thoughts on this episode?
No, it was really fun. I'm really scared for next week.
So I haven't had any time today to peruse the internet. Have you seen what the general consensus is? The only thing that I know, I put up a poll, and I think like 80% of people said they loved it. So I'm assuming that's the consensus. Most people loved it. Have you seen anything about the overall consensus about how people feel about the episode?
I would say it looks positive. I went on Twitter for like 5 minutes between dinner and coming in here. But yeah, looks positive. People seem to be excited. So take that hype, turn it up for next week, and be ready to cry. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna cry either anyway. Doesn't matter. Something will make me cry in next week's episode.
You could bet your bottom dollar Grogu's not dying. Like, he's the only one that I feel with 100% certainty will not die. There's no way anyone at Lucasfilm would ever allow Grogu to be killed. So Grogu's not dying, but I think there's a real possibility that Bo could be in trouble. Din could be in trouble. Kafka Reeves, Axe Wolves, like those, they're all people that could be in trouble.
The situation doesn't necessarily call for it, but do you think we're ever going to have mention of Satine?
I would love to see Satine.
I'm so bummed. I want Bo to live just so we can get a flashback with like her and Satine or something.
I mean, where is Satine right now? Is she away with Ahsoka? Maybe that's why she's not here. Maybe she's with Ahsoka.
Maybe my timelines are.
Well, Ahsoka's taking place around the same time-ish. I guess we'll find out in Ahsoka.
Did you say? I said Satine, not Sabine.
Oh, I'm so. Geez, cheesy, crazy girl. I thought you said Sabine.
Wait, I'm doing the math lady meme in my head. I'm like, did I just screw up my timelines really that badly? Okay, I'm glad. I was like, no, Satine is dead, bro.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing to see. And I remember people saying like, hey, maybe we'll get a flashback of Satine. Dude, I feel like if we're getting a flashback of Satine, that means Bo-Katan's like about to die. That would be my thought.
I hope it's not next week then.
So I was gonna say I don't want to see I don't want to see a flashback of Satine because that means Bo-Katan is
probably
dying or at last minute. Yeah, I don't want to see. But it would be great. It would be heartbreaking.
Maybe Mandalore in its prime.
Her and her father. Satine and her father. Like, oh boy. All right. I think it's a good spot to leave it.
Got a lot to think about before next week.
Yeah. Next week, I would say get ready. Bring the tissues. We could be in for a doozy. But with that said, you chuckleheads, you knuckleheads, like this video. Let us know down in the comments, what did you think about Chapter 23, The Spies? Did you like this episode? Did you not like it? If you did, what did you like about the episode? Let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to Star Wars Transmissions. Even though The Mandalorian is coming to an end next week, Danny Girl and I will be breaking down Star Wars shows whenever they drop. The Q&A, I'm going to be doing a Q&A stream on Friday. Been working on my my responses to some cool questions I've gotten. And then we got videos that we drop, shorts that we drop on the reg. So lots of cool stuff here at Star Wars Transmissions. And follow us on TikTok at SW Transmissions. With that said, I got to go make my dang lunch. I feel like that's how I end every week. Like, oh, I got to go make my lunch for work tomorrow.
Yep, because Star Wars obviously takes priority.
Takes priority over everything. Star Wars rules everything around me. Almost. All right. With that said, thanks for watching. May the Force be with you.